America's Mayor Live. And in honor of that, I want to thank the most responsible party for this. It's the 138th Psalm. I can't do it better than Solomon. If you can, write me one. And here's how it reads. And this is to thank you, God, for getting us through 1,000 America's Mayor alive when forces much stronger than us were arrayed to destroy us. And I know in my heart, without any reservation or restriction, that you, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost, are the reason we got through. This is 138th Psalm. I give you thanks, O Lord, with my whole heart. Before the angels, I sing your praise. I bow down before your holy temple and give thanks to your name for your mercy and your faithfulness. For you have exalted above everything your name and your word. On the day I called, you answered me. My strength of soul you increased. All the kings of the earth shall praise you, O Lord, for they have heard the words of your mouth, and they shall sing of the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of the Lord. For though the Lord is high, he regards the lowly, but the haughty he knows from afar. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve my life. You stretch out your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand delivers me. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for you. Your mercy, O Lord, endures forever. Do not forsake the work of your hands. We pray to you, O Lord, in thanksgiving for all of us that you've delivered from the persecution of the last several years. You saved us. You brought us out justified, and you brought us out stronger. We didn't. You did. What we did is believe in you. And for that, we stand as witnesses to so many others. So here we are 1,000 days later. We began, Ted and I don't know if Ted is on right now because Ted is in Michigan, right?
Yes, sir. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yeah, Ted, you remember we were on ABC radio show, and
That's
I was
right.
doing a podcast 2-3 times a week. And we kind of started to get the feeling that our days at ABC might be numbered by the cowardice of the management of ABC. They were very afraid to take on the 2020 election. They had really silenced most of the other people, but not me. I was pretty free to say almost everything I wanted to say, but one or two things that I was restricted from in my lawsuits. But we had a feeling that the boss, who has been back and forth as a Republican, a Democrat, nice guy, but no real strength of character, that he's going to double cross us at some point. And he had a weird person working for him that looked like he was on both sides. But in any event, we decided maybe it'd be good if we tried something on our own. So I love the New York Yankees, and I said, Ted, is it possible for me, without breaking the law, to like rebroadcast the Yankee game? They were playing the Cleveland Guardians in the playoffs, remember? And
That's
and
right.
we did, and we didn't. We sort of showed.
I believe I believe they played the Astros first.
Astros first, and they won,
and then the
they beat
Cleveland
Guardians.
prophylactics.
But I wanted the
yeah.
Astros because the Astros had cheated on them.
We're gonna go back to that. This is the first episode of America's Mayor Live. This is about 4 years ago now. The ALCS between the New York Yankees and the Houston Astros. So here's
Who had cheated on them in the
October
past.
of 2022.
So, and he's had the most home runs in the playoffs, 4. I'd say he was the MVP of the series with the Guardians. But they're looking for more pop at the beginning of the lineup, which they weren't getting out of Gleyber Torres. So
this is our first episode.
This is being done to put up somebody who can get on base, and either by he's already taken 2 balls, which is an early sign that he's the right choice, but who knows? I mean, there are a lot of things that go into this. We're going to have to see. He just swings and grounds it to short, and he'll be out by easy 5 steps, 1 down. That was a hard hit ground ball, but it was right at the first baseman, right at the third baseman, who made a great throw to first. So the whole theory of that was you could put me on X, right? That was Twitter then. Twitter. You could put me on Twitter. You could hear my commentary, and you could watch the game on television, right?
Right.
So I was side by side commentary with whoever, and I don't think it was I don't remember who the commentators were, but I wasn't listening to them, so that
Nobody. It was you, and then I was man in the game on the TV.
Yeah, and I was using my own knowledge of baseball to do the commentary. I should confess to the American people that this is because, although the Yankees have been extraordinarily good to me, and there are a few people that I admire more than George Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner and Trump were my mutual friends, and I think I had something to do with bringing them closer together, and I think they had something. I think George had something to do with bringing me closer together with Donald Trump. But in any event, I wanted to show that I could do play-by-play baseball. I had tried to convince the Yankees to let me do play-by-play, and they would let me come on all the time when I was mayor. I could stay on for innings doing color. But I like doing color, giving you the background on the player and an analysis. Some ways I like it better, but I wanted to try play-by-play because I go back to I'm older than them. I go back to President Trump telling me how he broadcast a radio game from ticker tape when the ticker tape went out for the Chicago Cubs and had to make up 2 innings. I have stories like that in my memory. So I wanted to try it, and you gave me a chance to do it by figuring out the pretty rudimentary at that time, right? We did it on the iPhone, right, Ted?
Yes, that would have been on the iPhone, and that wouldn't have even been on one of these like newer iPhones either. That would have been, but you know what? Look at the quality; it was pretty good.
The quality, yeah, the quality was I don't know, a little foggier maybe. Well, there I look like a white ghost. That must be that must have been my imitation of Ebenezer Scrooge.
Okay, here we are.
Yeah, that's Ebenezer Scrooge. There he is.
All right, thanks for joining us. We are live with Mayor Rudolph Giuliani For 1 hour this evening, we are asking folks to submit your questions. Ask me anything with Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Thanks for joining us live
And we-
here on a number of our social media platforms, including Instagram, YouTube, and Getter tonight. Mayor, any opening remarks on your first live stream?
Well, I guess my opening remarks are will suggest a few of the things we can certainly talk about. I don't know if there's anything that is more prominent or more unfortunately universal in the United States right now than the significant amount of crime that's going on. So if you want to talk about that, that is obviously a subject that I have a great deal of experience with in New York and also in the United States and around the world. I spent a lot of my last 20 years solving crime problems.
Well,
in
Mayor, we
various
wanted
parts of
to,
the
I don't know.
world.
I mean, I guess we
Before
look,
that, in
people,
the
we want to
United States.
encourage people to go check these out, right? But I just wanted to maybe
That
also
was a
little bit of that. I
call-in,
don't know
right?
if you want to play tonight, but
That was one of our call-ins
we were taking
in the
call-ins.
early days, right?
Yes, yes, and maybe we can do that again here as we get into our
Yeah, I think we'd be better
next
at it now.
1,000 episodes.
We got a couple of the call-ins.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So baseball is one of those universally loved things. However, I think, in Ted's in Michigan, I bet Abdul El Sayed hates it. I bet it would get under his skin. Oh, a nice American pastime.
We could almost do a yearly show because Ted who is a real expert on football, the way I'm an expert on baseball. And my knowledge of baseball is secondary to his knowledge of football. But his knowledge of baseball is secondary to my knowledge of football, but not non-existent. So I could see a very, very good show almost year-round. And then we could throw in a little basketball and make fun of them working for China. You, being a hockey player, could do hockey.
Are you talking to me or Ted?
I'm
Both
talking
of us
to
are.
both you guys.
Hockey, yeah.
Both of you guys could carry me through hockey, and I'm not bad on basketball. I mean,
Will I be
got
allowed?
out of
Can I tell
basketball.
LeBron James? Can I tell LeBron James to shut up and dribble, or is that racist?
No,
What?
we can do that now.
We can do that.
Trump's
now,
president,
right?
baby. Trump's president.
Remember, somebody told LeBron James to shut up and dribble, and apparently that made them a big racist or something.
But back
You
to
can
Ted, though.
disagree
So
with the
what I'm going to say,
statement.
Ted is a communications professional, and he has a passion for football, and not only a passion, but like a deep knowledge.
No, he does. He
And I
does.
think,
I have
honestly,
to-
I think if there's someone who should be like the NFL spokesman or like something on that regard, honestly, Ted briefed us on the state of like the playoffs
I have
or
great
on something,
respect
and I
for
was
his
like, man,
knowledge of football because I've gotten to know it, and I'm going to tell you. And Ted, see if I'm bragging or not, but it's similar to my knowledge of baseball.
I appreciate the kind words, Mayor. You know baseball 100 times more than I know football.
No.
I
In
mean,
a
you've been to
certain
so
way-
many. Just the fact that we've been to so many games, right? I mean, think of how many professional games you've been to.
There are two ways mine is deeper, and one way yours is deeper. And I'm not sure it's deeper. My knowledge of the Yankees is encyclopedic. I think your knowledge of the Packers is encyclopedic. Okay. My knowledge of playing baseball is encyclopedic. Just the game itself. So, like when we were watching the Little League games the other day, I was analyzing them.
You're
When we
picking up
go
things.
to the minor league games here, I can't get my everybody wants to talk. I'm looking at the left fielder who was out of position and wondering why do they have him there.
Right. You're saying, yep. I remember that.
To me, baseball is as strategic as football is to you. And finally, my knowledge of the rest of baseball is okay, but geared very much to the Yankees. So I know the Dodgers historically and presently, because I know the Red Sox as if they're the Yankees. But then as you go further out from the Yankee opponents, my knowledge is a little weaker. I can make up for it because I have an instinctual good knowledge of baseball. Here's where you're different. You have a great knowledge of the Packers. It's not as great as my knowledge of the Yankees, nor is it as big a subject. The Yankees are just longer history. You have a great knowledge of the strategic part of football, equal to mine on baseball. Where you have a
That means a
greater
lot.
knowledge is the rest of football,
Okay.
where
I'll take
I
that.
have to make up for it with my instinctual knowledge of baseball. So we can watch
Interesting.
a college game as we have, and immediately I can start telling you things about it that nobody else would
Right.
see.
Right.
Does
Little
the
League. You were
pitcher
doing
have
that
a-
with Little League. You were doing that with 12-year-old kids.
I did it with my
Right.
son's
I
little
can't
league.
do that.
Does the ball
Right.
move? Does
And
the
by the
hitter
way, it
have
makes
a
it more
real-
interesting.
Is
Yeah.
the hitter is the kid afraid of the ball or not? I used to teach little leaguers.
It's
I used
it's
to
a much
teach 'em.
more
I mean,
nuanced game.
the main thing for a kid, the first thing you got to determine about a kid is get him over fear of the ball. He's got to attack the ball.
Right.
You got to attack that damn thing. It's the enemy.
Yes.
But that's
Right.
how we
And
started.
I
We're
think
spending too
baseball
much
is a
time
little
on
bit
how
more
we started.
nuanced.
So then what happened after the Yankees? And yeah, we were really, and we were doing we were shocked at the numbers of people we were getting. I mean, we were getting like
right,
400,000
just
or
on baseball, and so
500,000 on
then-
our radio show, and we were really unbelievable with that. And
Right.
even better. And then all of a sudden, we got a couple of 1 millions, and we're saying to ourselves,
Right.
"Are you crazy?" So
And we
now
started doing
the
it right
Yankees.
before the. Yep.
So now the Yankees flame out against a contraceptive team.
Right.
What did the Indians change their name to?
The Guardians.
That's a contraceptive. It's not a team.
Prophylactic. You were calling it a prophylactic at the time.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
Cleveland
But I don't know if
Prophylactics.
we
They
said
lost to the
Indian. I think we
Cleveland
probably stuck with
Prophylactics
Indian.
because they were afraid to maintain their real honorable name after a great people, the Indians. Just like the Etruscans were
That's right.
great people in Italy who were defeated by the Romans, and the Romans took their land away. They were my people. Okay, well, in any event,
That's right.
we had a
We
couple
started,
of
and
days.
we were just days, Mayor, if not weeks away from the 2022 midterms. Remember, when I started doing this with you, I was still consulting with Caroline Leavitt, among other candidates.
Yeah.
Remember,
So now-
Caroline Leavitt was running for Congress.
Now, here's
in
what
New
I don't
Hampshire.
remember. Maybe you'll remember this. We were very disappointed when the Yankees lost for both reasons. We were already making plans for our World Series coverage, right?
Oh, of course,
We were even
right.
thinking of going out there and
Typical
all kinds
Yankee
of
fan, right? I
we
mean, once
called
you
the
get
Yankees.
yeah,
We had
Yankee
all
fan, I mean,
kinds
they
of things
expect it,
going, right?
Right.
But and then when did we decide, let's just go on and talk?
Well, the first episode, which is the one we just played, and you can find that on the mayor's YouTube.
Did we wait a
channel
day
and
or two
elsewhere.
or a week or?
It was, and I'll tell you, October 24th, 2022.
So it had to be pretty quick.
Right
Now,
after the
when
playoffs, right.
we started,
We started
see,
on
I
a
have-
Monday.
I have one microphone here. See this? Ted, show him your microphone.
I don't have that one, but we're going to put yours up. You have this one. You have the same microphone you had.
Okay, that's the one microphone. What we
Let me
had,
show it.
we had no idea how are we going to be on X and on YouTube and on Getter and on Facebook and Instagram and of course Twitter, right?
Right.
So we set up separate microphones. I had
Which one?
about 5 microphones in front of me.
You can kind
they
of see
keep
them there in the
falling
bottom right. You can see them. You can see them in the bottom right.
They keep falling
not
down
great, maybe
because
some
I'm
other-
Italian. I talk like this, so I'm going like this. Boom.
That was
And Ted
funny.
is going crazy. What is this crazy guy doing? And
We
I don't
also
know
had-
how
we
long
also
did
had
it-
a bunch of different cameras. That's why you're not looking at the camera in this video, right? Because we had like 4 different cameras.
Oh, yeah,
all
yeah,
set
yeah.
off
We
to
had
the
4
side
different
and-
cameras in front of us.
Yeah.
One of them was able to do 2. and all the rest did one. And the iPhone was the key one because it got you right on live. And
You
and
remember,
kudos
yeah?
to iPhone. They do a great picture, even better now. So
Right.
when did we realize we could do Restream? And we could go in, we could take one microphone and we could plug into one
Yeah.
device, and
I
then
can
that
look
would
through
send
our
it out to everybody.
I would say no, by November we were doing that.
Okay. And that's what really made us go, right?
I would say by episode. Yeah, episode
Well, we're going to take a short
20.
break now.
Episode 21, episode 22, we started
That
doing it on
clicked.
here.
Episode
that's
21 out of 1,000. That's pretty good,
Yeah.
Ted.
That's
Thank
not
you.
bad.
Well, we'll be right
Yeah.
back with the rest of our show, which is going to be something that may become somewhat of a staple on this show. We're going to do a movie review of another movie like we did on Homer's Odyssey. You'll see. You'll enjoy it. It's Brink.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
We are back.
Well, we're back on America's Mayor Live, the 1000th show. And we have with us our president of our company that owns the show, Standard LLC, the person who spends a great deal of time helping Ted and I develop the show, and who is on a decent amount of time, although she has her own show on Lindell TV, which will be on tonight at 8 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That is correct.
Which we are
Mayor
urging
Julian.
we're urging you to go see.
But you give me far too much credit for the show. I do some sponsorships
Oh, stop.
for the show, but I also, oops, excuse me, I just hit your table.
She's
I
been with us from the
also-
very beginning. Dr. Maria has, the second I started working with the mayor, it never would have happened without Dr. Maria being on board. The three of us started this. Of course, we have great friends like Steven and Rob who have basically been with us from the beginning. But this was Dr. Maria, Ted Goodman, and Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
Seriously, you guys are being.
Stop it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, you're ordered
But I
now.
do wanna
You're
talk about
ordered
one
now by
thing.
the oldest person to stop.
Okay. I do have to talk about the coffee. I am not kidding you, right? When I do this, that's my Italian hands. È vero. It's so true. It is really, you've got to give it a try. It is Rudy Coffee. So I think it's Rudy Coffee it's not .com. Rudy.coffee. Rudy.coffee. You do need a grinder for the beans, but you'll never, ever go back. So I just wanted to say that because I really do believe in it. And being an Italian, I drank coffee since I was a child. My mother gave us coffee. And even being in Italy for business recently, I kept talking about Rudy Coffee because I
better.
got some really bad
It's
coffee.
it's better.
Believe it or not, in Italy.
It's Maria. It's better. It's better.
Coffee
It
snob
is.
Steven Schumacher here. I have to say, it's probably the best coffee I've ever had. I drink it religiously.
Believe it or not, we are not. We're actually shocked at the reaction that people had to it originally. Right,
Yeah,
Maria?
yeah. Of course, we get people come up to us with ideas all the time. And if it's not a quality product or if it's not at the right price point, we are not going to move forward with it. But we partnered with Don Pablo and we've been in love, great working relationship, but great coffee beans, all Arabica from family farms in Honduras and other places. No pesticides are being used. None.
It's so good.
I'll
Yes.
say something too about Don Pablo and the team. When I was in, like, again, self-proclaimed coffee snob, every single theory or protocol or anything that had to do with coffee, we nerded out for a good 10 minutes on each one of those. And it was the opportunity of a lifetime to go down there and experience it. You see the commercials all the time with the amazing, it's not like a factory, it's like a hospital.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's
yes,
very,
it is a
very
hospital,
clean.
yeah.
Yes, very,
Very. It's pure. It's beautiful. It's clean. Oh,
I love it.
So Mayor,
and when
you
I
look
missed
very
the co-
dapper, by
and
the
when
way,
I
tonight.
thank you, when I missed the coffee, like we were in Italy for 17, 18 days, and Italy is known for great coffee.
I never thought there could be a better place. Actually,
I missed it.
yeah, I
Maybe
did too.
maybe I'm getting used to it, but I would tell people there, you have to have Rudy coffee. They're looking at me like I'm
You
crazy.
know what's really funny, and then I'll stop talking about this. So we really believe in this coffee. Really, really believe in it. In Italy,
Go
we're
get a
both
bag.
Italian. We're always Italians, they get the best coffee. I so believe in this coffee. I brought a gift to the Prime Minister Giorgia
Oh,
Meloni
you did. I
and other
forgot.
people, her deputy, and also the highest ranking general. And my gift to them was the coffee. I am very proud. I came up with all the designs and the stories. So the inspiration was Mayor Giuliani taking down the mafia and other crime reduction. He was bold and fearless, even when his life was in danger. That's my favorite.
And there's a little story here about that.
Yep. And I think the mayor's favorite is what we call the morning coffee or normal blend, not so strong. And it's organic. It's great. A great Americana picture of Mayor Giuliani on it, and also a little story on the back. And lastly, we do have a decaf. I'm not a decaf drinker, but I am very proud that it has a water filtration system to remove the caffeine. Typically, roasters will use chemicals, and we do not. It's a Swiss water filtration. So buy your copy, Rudy.coffee. All right, Mayor Giuliani.
And then you have something to teach your kids. See?
Yes, that's right. You keep getting us to go to the movie theater with you.
Well, we went to the movie theater last night to see a movie about something I lived through because I worked for President Ronald Reagan for all 8 of his years, and I had a small role in this because a lot of what you see here was triggered by the deployment of the intermediate range cruise missiles in Eastern and Western Europe, because it got the atomic weapons much closer to Gorbachev. And there is a rumor, not true, that President Reagan put the names of the Russian cities on the missiles.
Mhm.
That's what many Russians have told me who have since become American, that he really frightened the hell out of them. So this movie is about the meeting between the President of the United States and then I think he was the Prime Minister.
They didn't call him prime
Or the
minister. He
premier?
was like executive general. He had
General
some
Secretary,
name.
the dictator of the Communist Party. That would be the right title. The murdering dictator.
General Secretary of the Communist Party of the
Mikhail
Soviet Union.
Gorbachev, with the decoration on his head, and he and Reagan.
You
met.
almost did it again.
Yeah, he almost said
Trump,
I know.
right?
He and Reagan met. It was at the height of the Cold War. It was also at the height of the Contra situation in
the Iran
Nicaragua,
Contra.
in
Yep.
which the Nicaraguans were trying to take over, the communists in Nicaragua were trying to take over Nicaragua with the help of Castro for the communists. The idea was, could they reduce the inordinate number of nuclear weapons we had, which if you used all of them would have destroyed the world 45
The world,
times.
yeah, yep.
And you should understand domestically, this they do not show in the movie. I don't know why, because it would have made him more of a hero. But the president was under great pressure to sign this agreement because he was becoming unpopular. The Democrats were doing to him what they do to all Republicans, including me, which I'll tell you about sometime.
Well, we have criticism. I mean, and that's why we're talking about the movie, right? We have some criticisms.
What they don't point out is that they were constantly going after him for supporting the Contras, lying about supporting the Contras. That was a crime. And therefore, so was all of our intelligence activity, for going back to George Washington, by the way. The Democrats were beginning the dissolution of their party as an American political party and becoming a group of traitors trying to destroy the United States and bringing down our greatest president. But they were succeeding. And Reagan's approval ratings for the first time after winning
49
almost
out
a
of 50.
unanimous decision
Have never seen
were
that. Never
really
since.
low.
Yep.
He was advised by all of his advisors, like Trump is advised by all of his advisors. Usually they give the wrong advice and the president knows the right advice.
Yeah.
He was advised to go there, make this deal with Gorbachev, bring down the nuclear weapons. We got so many in excess. If we bring them down by half, we can still destroy the world 4 times instead of 50. So they worked out a sort of agreement. They all went. The major protagonist on our side is Secretary George Shultz, who was a great Secretary of State, probably second only to Kissinger.
And
Well, I would say that
whom the movie was dedicated to, by the way.
And
George Shultz.
I thought, if we're talking protagonist, obviously, Ronald Reagan would be.
Well, Ronald Reagan should
Yeah.
have been the center of the movie.
Yes, it was a little odd, yeah.
I cannot
When we
complain
get
about
into
this
that,
movie
it's-
because it was done by Angel. And it was not unfair to Ronald Reagan.
We'll see.
It was not fair to Ronald Reagan either. But let's go on.
Well, can I actually, can we tease this? Can we tease this?
Yeah, with a trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be all right?
play
That's a great idea.
Because it begins when he's leaving and then it goes back. I failed.
So we do love Angel Studios. They were the first ones to boldly bring us The Chosen. And this is a movie based on a true episode. It was the second meeting between Gorbachev and Reagan. And it's like yesterday, October 11th and 12th, I think, 1986. Because I remember watching the news and seeing President Reagan, my president, on the stairs with Gorbachev. And it was all talk about the nuclear weapons. Now, during the movie, right? You don't know how much, because you don't know people's private thoughts all the time, how much was dramatized, how much not. But I love history. I love that Reagan and Gorbachev, you have to give them credit, were willing to come to the table.
You
Of
do.
course, you've lived it. You were in the Justice Department at this time.
I argued the case a year and a half before that allowed for the cruise missiles to be deployed. Had the cruise missiles not been deployed, there never would have been a meeting, because Gorbachev would not have been motivated and frightened by the fact that, unlike under prior administrations of wussy presidents and reversing Jimmy Carter's cowardice, President Reagan, the moment he came into office, said, I don't know why Carter backed down on those intermediate range ballistic missiles. We're going to put them in, because our European allies didn't trust the fact that if they were attacked by middle-level nuclear weapons, that we would go to war for them. So Carter agreed, we'll put them in England, we'll put them in Italy, we'll put them in Germany, we'll put them in Spain. And then Carter, because he wanted to get reelected, and because he is not what they make him out to be, including as a future president where he was mostly anti-American, backed down, because I don't know what happened to the commander of a YouTube boat, but the guy was a coward. He backed down because he wanted to get elected too badly. And after he promised Europe he would do it, he said, no, it's off. Of course, Ronald Reagan, who didn't have a cowardice inch in his body, said, F that. The minute I get in, they all get not only restored, but enhanced. And from the day he got in, they did. It took 2.5 years. When he did it, they sued him.
Now,
the Democrats sued him like the Democrats sue anything that will help America.
Right, right. Now, I will start with, I am encouraging people to go see this for a couple of reasons. One is to support Angel Studios. They even have Jeff Daniels, the actor who played Ronald Reagan, at the end. Talk about, there's a QR code on the screen. You could pay forward and buy somebody a ticket. Remember, we saw that with The Sound of Music. Again, Angel Studio was so bold to bring us that story nobody wanted to talk about. But. I think Jeff Daniels was the wrong actor. And
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Maria, for saying it. I didn't want to rain on your little parade of it getting all emotional and having him buy someone a ticket, right? You know? It's like, buy me a ticket. Buy me a ticket. But Jeff Daniels, I thought that he probably took every opportunity that he could in this to, he didn't go out of his, he didn't go out of his way to paint Reagan in a negative light, but on the margins, the neck was a little bit too fat. He seemed a little flustered at times when we know he wasn't. And that's just, and also the way that they made Nancy look, a little more tactical and less loving than she could have been.
And they had the love affair of the White House, right? No other couple probably was as supportive. I don't know that factually, but they seemed such a loving couple. I couldn't agree more, Stephen. I thought he was the wrong actor. We know the reason there was a meeting that day in October of 1986 was because Reagan was relentless about anti-communism, right?
Yeah,
that's
relentless.
why you are, besides your upbringing, your period, your parents. But Reagan was secure in his thoughts about communism and fighting the evil empire.
Well, and let's think why. So going back to why Reagan might have had such a strong passion or belief, right? Remember, he comes from Hollywood, from California, where he saw it, and actually where we still continue to see it to this day.
Yep.
The continued infiltration of communism into our, national.
He was the head of the Screen Actors Guild.
Yes.
For 6 years.
And it was just a little slow paced too. I thought it was such a dynamic meeting. Of course, meetings are tedious. They had their teams there that had to dot the I's, cross the T's, but they could have made it a little bit more dramatic. And I Stephen, we're on the same page tonight. I thought the Nancy character, like, why even have that in there? It was just bizarre, you know, and the way she talked.
Well, and honestly, Mrs. Gorbachev was really personalized to me,
Yeah,
right? Like she
yeah.
came off as
Yeah,
a
she
real
became the
authentic
loving
woman.
one. Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Say what?
And then,
All
yeah.
right, now, Mayor.
Yeah.
Why would
he was
Angel
there
do that?
almost.
Well, let me
think it
tell
was
you.
purpose,
Let me
do you?
tell you from the point of view of objective things that I do, but that I do know. And I have to tell you, this is a subject on which, from her point of view, Mrs. Reagan spent a lot of time talking to me when I was on the board of the Reagan Library. And it's probably one of the reasons why I was motivated to go to Israel and get Bibi Netanyahu to sign a letter to her, thanking her for Reagan sticking with Star Wars. Because if he hadn't stuck with Star Wars, they never would have had the Golden Dome.
Israel probably be
And
more,
and what
right?
you don't realize, because the unfair, distorted, anti-historical press doesn't tell you this, the Democrats were bitter enemies of anything having to do with the defense of America against Russia. Now, you explain that to me. I can, but that's for another day.
Well, and couldn't it be more relevant than our current election cycle where we have the infiltration of communism and
No,
socialism?
they've been hanging around that party since Woodrow Wilson.
Yep.
it's
And
been
now
a
they
long
got
time.
it by the short ones.
Teachers
And now they got it.
union as well.
Amen,
Now they
Dr.
either
Maria.
have it or they can squeeze the couillons of anyone who are in it, except for Fetterman and a couple of others.
So my only explanation why I thought some of the, besides maybe being the wrong actor, but I thought the script was a little off, was because you find out at the end, the movie was dedicated to George Shultz. So maybe they wanted the other characters to be a little more in the background. I don't know. You would think Brink of War, Ronald Reagan is going to be the hero.
I can assure you I love George Shultz. George Shultz did a great job. Ronald Reagan took George Schultz out for walks at night. The way you take your dog.
Yeah,
out
yeah,
for
yeah.
walks.
Okay, well,
I
before
totally get what you're
Ted,
saying.
okay, Ted's with us and he has to go.
Ted, well, yeah, we don't know what Ted's thinking.
Let's hear Ted's thoughts on this whole.
Look, I'm with you guys. Look, I don't think I would have saw this.
Ted, we
Can
can't
you hear
hear
me?
you.
That's just an us problem, maybe. Nope, that's a Ted problem.
A Ted problem.
We'll bring him off.
is.
We'll bring you back when we get the audio fixed.
You know, it's a little bit like it is with Donald Trump, and I hope he realizes this. These people around him don't agree with him, and they think he's dopey, so they think they can outdo him, and they have no idea that in his own way, Reagan's IQ, even though they might have gone to an Ivy League school and whatever, for situational things,
Mute me.
Reagan's IQ was
There we go.
almost a genius level.
Now we got him back because
Ted,
Ted.
can you hear me?
His ability to
Yeah.
manipulate was second to none.
Yeah.
All right, Ted, what do you got?
Persuade.
I would have saw this if not for the fact that
Persuade and manipulate.
Yeah.
Know how to get this one against
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
No, so Ted's with us here. What do you got, Ted?
I wouldn't have saw this if not for the fact that we got to see it with Dr. Maria and Mayor Giuliani. Of course, the mayor's knowledge of President Reagan and his team and the key players, because stuff like that, I don't know about you guys, I like watching documentaries on the real thing. I mean, this was only 40 years ago, right? There was the live footage and a lot of coverage from the time period. I like watching the real, this sort of stuff rather than these recreations, but very
Ted
interesting.
doesn't like
I agree
biopics.
with
He
you
doesn't
guys.
like Adams or those types of
No. We're talking about more recent stuff, right? Like from the 80s, we can watch the video and see. And
Oh
and
yeah,
hear from
okay,
the-
okay.
That's what I mean, right? And but fascinating and really, I thought we got a good perspective on how the Soviets kind of argued their side, and like an honest, from their perspective, right? You can kind of see where they could make that make sense in their own heads, right? And push that to their own people, even if we objectively know.
But
It was part of a failed system and some failed ideas.
a little slower intellectually than you can. That comes across.
Here's in 1 minute the story of Reykjavik that they left out and why it makes him, in the minds of historians, one of our 3 or 4 greatest presidents. The Cold War had been going on for 30, 40 years before him. It resulted in hot wars, in the death of thousands, in the persecution of millions. It had ended up in the elimination of the Christian religion in Poland and this place and that place, the Gulag, the persecution of the Jewish people. We were beginning, he mentions refuseniks in it. Your little mention. You have no idea how big the refusnik movement was to get Jewish people out of Russia before the Russians killed them. So, and it is not as if we had two equal parties here. We had a great man and a good man and a Christian man and a man who believed in God and in saving life on one side. And we had an animalistic killer on the other. Gorbachev was the leader of a country that had slaughtered more people, except maybe for Red China, and was in the middle of slaughtering people and torturing them as he was there. They were torturing people in the Gulag as Gorbachev was speaking to Reagan. Reagan understood every single part of that. He never fooled himself. He never subjected himself to the snow jobs they did on the pathetic Democrats or some of the Republicans. And here's the best demonstration of that. At the beginning of his administration, they said, Mr. President, how is the Cold War going to end? And the president looked at them and said, as if it's obvious, we win, they lose. Every moment of his presidency was devoted to we win, they lose. What they miss here is the courageous way he walked out of that summit. He had the whole deal done. The deal was wonderful for his public image at that point, which was suffering. His wife and Schultz had begged him to do it. Sign the deal, worry about the rest later. You need to get your thing back up, public approval and all that. He went there. He tried very hard to reduce missiles. He thought he had reduced missiles more than Gorbachev had been asking for. He was very sure the morning he got up on the second day that they were going to have an agreement. He told his wife that early in the morning. When he walked in, unlike what they showed you there, without any warning, Gorbachev banged the table and said, you'll have to do away with that stupid, idiotic Star Wars, which is what Democrats would call it. There was nothing stupid about it. There was nothing idiotic about it. It was ingenious.
It sure was.
But Democrats and the communists were on the same wavelength then as they are now. And Ronald Reagan argued with him for 2 hours. And when he insisted no reduction in missiles, which Reagan needed for his own approval, and said, you got to do away with Star Wars now and forever. Reagan leaned over at one point and said to Schultz, because he knew it, they can't afford it. He offered to give it to them. They didn't want to take it. They want to be able to develop themselves. But they knew they needed about 5 years to develop it. They also finally understood that we were probably about 20 years ahead of them on everything. And that we probably weren't at mutually assured destruction. We were at destruction of them and defense against them even then. So he looked at him, he evaluated him. He thought Gorbachev was bluffing, probably wouldn't have cared even if he didn't. And he stood up right in the middle of Gorbachev talking, which they don't show because they don't want to make him that courageous. No indecision. He said, Mr. Gorbachev, it was a pleasure meeting with you. I hope you come to Washington. And he shook his hand and he said, I will, and please understand, if you do, I will never give up SDI, ever. Never, ever. And walked out.
It was such a historic moment in real life.
It's
And
courageous.
the move, courageous is all
you
get
don't
out.
see, they take away from Ronald Reagan that courageous
I
moment.
totally agree.
They
with
rob
you.
it from him.
Yep, from real life, how courageous it was to do that, because basically what was on the table is they would both disarm 100%. But he wouldn't bend on this because he saw the long haul and he saw how strategic this could be for not only our allies like Israel, but for us. and he stayed with his principles uncompromising.
You know, I think that's the inconsistency that I noticed too. So like I wasn't around at the time, right? But I've seen, like Ted was saying, like a lot of historical footage, and I'm a student of history, and it seemed incompatible with what my recollection of the meeting was. Yeah. And that's why for me it seemed a little off, right? It seemed a little off.
Yeah, me too.
But
I do have to say they later went on to meet again and came up with a reduction.
10 months
deal.
later,
Yep.
Here's the simple fact, and you can dress it up any way you want. 10 months later, Gorbachev came to Washington with his tail between his legs because he couldn't even possibly compete. Now, when he decided we were not going to reduce weapons, we started producing more. And I'll give you the best answer to it, written 3 years after it was over in a Gorbachev biography.
I was going to bring this up too.
Gorbachev told the truth about it.
Yep.
Trump spent us.
Reagan.
Ronald Reagan spent us into oblivion.
Well, he also admitted something else in the book. The turn of the Cold War
was Reykjavik.
Reykjavik.
He realized at Reykjavik, and they don't tell you this either, what they realized was something that later history proved we were way ahead of them. Yeah. All of our estimates have been extremely conservative, as they should be.
Yeah.
And we saw them as much more of a equal to us than they actually were. Our technology was so far ahead of theirs that a lot of the fears that we had were unnecessary, but prudent. And but the one thing it did get across that I liked, because I know it's a contradiction, but it's true. And it's true of this president too. Reagan hated killing people. He hated the idea that people would die.
Pro-life.
And he found mutually assured destruction immoral and against the laws of God. And he wanted to be the president that could somehow end mutually assured
because you
destruction.
never know who else will be in office on either
Like
side.
the Ayatollah.
But so we know, obviously, you were in the administration when all this was going on. But the movie, take just the movie. What are the pros? What are the cons about the movie?
Average movie, above average subject.
Exactly.
Oh, of course.
Way above average
Great
subject.
subject.
Good enough if it inspires thinking, but doesn't retard it.
Yeah.
If it keeps thinking at that level, it becomes a mundane comic book. If it inspires thinking and reading some of the biographies of Reagan, which are excellent, or even some of the contemporary analysis of the event, because what I told you about the event is not terribly disputed. The version they came up with, they pulled out of their backsides, which I'm shocked at Angel for doing. I mean,
okay. But here's the thing. Let me put a little feather in Angel's cap a little bit, and we'll get back to the movie and say how the story was told through the inner story of the support staff that were in the building, and how they, and I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil it, but it kind of followed the tenor of the negotiation, and you see different things. Oh, I don't want to give any away, but it's so good. They start with a nice solid white line down the middle of the floor, KGB on one side, CIA on the other. And then you get these nice little snide comments about communism and things like that. And it's so great. And you almost see it. It's that's why I am going to encourage everyone to see it. Even though
I would too. And the thing I didn't know about was that on Reagan's team, I think 4 out of the 5 people who were kind of like the policy people that were going to write were Democrats. And I love that was highlighted. I assume it's a historical fact because that's when we could work together for common good.
That also showed you how confident Reagan was.
And they came across as DC people. They actually told that story pretty good, to be honest with you. Better than like our modern and most DC people. But like,
they also came across as people with this was good. Respect for the president.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Definitely. Oh, I love that. Love that.
They all respected him as their leader, even though some of them were Democrats and some of them were Republicans. And there was a lot of, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it became with Bush too and with Trump. but there was a lot of demeaning of Ronald Reagan. A lot. He was just a dumb actor. What did he know? What they missed is what Stephen pointed out. His knowledge of communism 5 years in Hollywood was very, very deep, including the philosophical roots of communism, because in order to get himself ready for all the arguments, he read all of those communist tracts and communist literature.
Yep. And to be fair as well, the Hollywood business model, and actually this has been, written about in academic journals, the Hollywood business model is very similar to sort of the DC policy business model of like coalition building and project-based results and that type of thing. And so coming from that environment will really prepare you for DC. And obviously Reagan came from that and was more than entrenched in it. And Nancy as well, right? Mrs. Reagan. I can't say Nancy. Mrs. Reagan.
Nancy Reagan was an actress. That's how they met. They met in a movie. They met doing a movie together. Her father was a doctor. Her father was not only a doctor, but a very conservative Republican doctor. And her father converted him from a Democrat to a Republican. His great respect for her father as an intellect helped to convert him.
Here is a picture of that day. And that's what I remember in my mind as well.
What I remember is how much taller he was than Gorbachev.
Yeah.
They don't show you that in the movie either.
On the stairs.
They make them a lot more even in height in the movie too.
Yeah. Well,
and also in public stature. Ronald Reagan was now a 2-term president who had won one of the biggest landslides in American history. And Gorbachev was a fairly new, unproven head of the Soviet Union. Their standing was much different. Yep. And Reagan utilized that by being humble.
Yeah, what a guy. We need more Ronald Reagans, I got to tell you.
Yeah, a good man.
Yep.
A very, very good and a much more brilliant man than I have to. Now that I have you, I got to answer your question.
Okay.
Are you following this Clancy trial where this woman killed three of her children?
I didn't in the beginning, but I got so many emails and texts asking me to cover it on the show and wanting my opinion, my medical opinion.
Well, I want a question about that, and I want a question about something else. There are all these people out there demonstrating for her.
Yes.
There's nobody demonstrating for the babies.
These are
who's the victim here, her or the babies?
The babies. But she could potentially be a victim of the system. She did, by all accounts, talk repeatedly to multiple providers, whether they were psychiatric or medical providers. She talked to her husband. She talked to her parents about these thoughts of hurting her children. It seemed like she was reaching out for months and months, and they kept prescribing different medications, 13 in all, whether she was taking all 13 at the same time. They would try something, take her off, give her another one. Well, what we know about psychotropic drugs, they mess. I could say the F word. They mess with your mind. So she could have already had. I believe she had a diagnosis of bipolar disorder anyway, but the psychosis was new, and it could have been exacerbated too with the medicines. Definitely, those babies are victims, and I'm not in any way saying, she has any justification. There's never a justification.
Why did she send her husband away, which was a deliberate act?
Yes, it was a deliberate act.
In order to kill the kids.
Yes, and it was to do it, to send them away to do it.
I see that as a rational, deliberate act, not the act of a person under the possession of a demon or something.
Well, sometimes psychosis, it's a complicated diagnosis. You can have, I don't want to say practicality to you, but you can, because the psychosis is there. So you got to think, how can I get away with this? How can I do it? It's almost like people who are psychotic and think the television, right? We know that a lot of schizophrenic and other personality disorders, they sometimes have auditory hallucinations, and they hear voices from the TV. You could be sitting talking like this, and you don't know that I'm fighting that, thinking they're telling me to choke. They're telling me to choke.
There's another
Giuliani.
person here with me, like a nice old
Yeah.
lady who's like
How
telling
could-
me
but
what
also,
to do.
How could she have postpartum depression?
She
So
had
the baby was years ago.
no, she had one that was young.
Oh.
Yeah, she had a younger one. So she had postpartum depression, which unfortunately many women have suffered from, but she had a very rare condition.
How many women kill their kids over postpartum depression?
No. You wait till I finish. Nobody does when they have postpartum depression. She had a very rare disorder, postpartum psychosis. And I do a test and wonder if the medications kind of pushed her over the edge. She was crying for help so much, and her husband did listen. He took her to a facility to get evaluated there, and they had her there the whole entire day testing her, and then at the end said, you don't meet the qualifications. You don't meet the criteria to be admitted to this.
Well,
inpatient.
here's a reporter for the Post that says, but compassion for mentally ill does not require turning a woman who killed 3 children into a folk hero.
No, that's true. Very
Clancy's supporters insist that the system failed her, a phrase that conveniently transfers agency from an individual to an amorphous collection of individuals and institutions. But by every account available, Clancy had extraordinary support. She had multiple medical providers who prescribed and adjusted psychiatric medications.
I would say
Both-
that's a problem.
Okay. Both sets of grandparents were involved. The family used daycare and a nanny. Her husband took months of paternity leave and later worked from home so he could help his struggling wife. Then on the day her children died, Clancy asked her husband, Patrick, to leave the house to pick up dinner and medication. While he was gone, she killed all 3 of their children.
No, I think she should be jailed. I think she's accountable, but there's more to this story. In those medications,
Well, I've been showing you this.
are a big problem.
Turning Point USA took this footage at a rally of Clancy supporters.
Holy macaroni! Wow.
And it seems like I don't know.
That's ridiculous.
You know,
That's ridiculous. That's like Mangione.
I think I see it very
What?
different than
But
Mangione.
okay, they did everything for her that we know how to do. Maybe they didn't do it right. Maybe they didn't, but they didn't kill the baby.
Of
She
course
did.
not. Of course not.
And maybe she's too dangerous to be alive. Because at this point in our history, we don't know how to stop her from killing innocent little children.
I hope she never has a baby again.
Well,
She should
I
be
wish they had
sterilized.
executed her.
She should be sterilized.
I mean, the best way to do it is to execute her and make sure that never again does she get her hands on a child. I mean,
I think she should have been hospitalized. I think she met criteria to be hospitalized. I think we play a dangerous game with these medications. They literally alter the chemistry of the brain. And you're trying one, you tell them to stop, and you try another one. The other one is not even left the system yet.
so you think that should all justify all those people?
I don't think it
all those
justifies it.
people out there like she's the
But
the
Dr.
hero
Marie is
of
right
New
to
England?
highlight it.
Yeah.
But
She's
but
right
she's
to
the
highlight
hero of New England.
No. I think they're no. I don't think she's a hero at all. I don't.
But Dr. Marie is just merely highlighting a systemic issue that we have with kind of, I guess, overprescribing or
Yep.
or misprescribing and like dosing properly. It's a science, and patients don't always comply with meds
Yep.
or.
And we learn so much more, like even weaning off of an antidepressant. You think, okay, you can't cut some of these medications all at once. You have to wean them off. We call it tapering the dose. We're now learning that even if you taper, say, an antidepressant, a serotonin reuptake medication, and you do it over 6 weeks, we now know that brain chemistry is you're really not weaning them off for like a year. Like there's still so much odd stuff we are doing
So,
to the chemistry of the brain.
Here's what it looks like, right? Here's a woman who no doubt slaughtered or killed her children.
Yeah.
Everything was done for her that could be done based upon the
Support of her family.
The frailty of modern medicine. Her family gave her everything they could. The doctors did everything they could within the scope of their knowledge today. They had no ill motive here. They just made mistakes, we think.
Mhm.
And so how does this become a cause celeb? She's
that,
the one who murdered the kids. The modern science maybe isn't advanced enough to stop a monster like this from killing her kids.
And not only
Maybe there'll be a day we can stop monsters like this from doing it.
online fundraisers have raised over $1 million for her and the
Wow.
one child that survived. If I'm understanding correctly, 2 of the kids were killed and 1 actually survived.
So I see this like Dostoevsky did. Dostoevsky in Crime and Punishment says, ultimately, we're going to blame every crime on the environment. On this person didn't do it. This person caused it. That person caused it. This person didn't do enough. That person didn't do enough. Oh, they made a mistake and gave her coffee. Oh, they did this. Oh, they did that. Oh, they did this. And then all of a sudden, by confusing people like that, you look at the person that stuffed the knife in the chest of the person who was dead, and you say, not his fault. Poor little thing.
And let me just
The poor little thing didn't get cared for enough. If they had cared for her any more, they'd have been doing nothing else with their lives but caring for her. So maybe it's her that's the problem.
She is the problem, but she told
And
enough
stop
people
holding signs for her.
that she was going to harm those children. She should not have been allowed near those children.
yeah.
She should not have
And
been
and
allowed
like
near
I
those
misspoke earlier. So originally one of the children survived,
I
but
was
then
gonna say
died 3
died at
days
the
later. So
hospital.
that was a
So,
misspoke.
so I would say, if we didn't have a liberal, silly society, if a woman keeps announcing, I'm going to harm the kids, you take the kids away from her. You know, in a liberal society, they'd go crazy if you did that.
Yeah.
Well, how about can we get back to a society where maybe community members show love to this family and make sure that everything's okay and
And
maybe
she's
try to
never alone.
support?
Nobody
Maybe.
wants to believe it. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
no, you're right. Because I was even thinking, as a medical provider, would I have called CPS or however you call it in your state? Yeah, I probably would have. Would I have done things, trying to go to court to
Yeah,
take
right, I
those
would
kids away for at least a
I
time
started a whole
limited
agency to do that. The minute you say
portion?
you're going
Yeah, I
to,
would have as a
the minute you
as a
tell me,
provider.
the minute you tell me you're going to kill somebody, I never forget. I take it seriously.
Of course, you have to take it seriously. Especially, she repeatedly told everybody
Well, and
who would listen.
there are differences too. Like a lot of those people are like mandatory reporters
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Yeah.
there could be significant legal implications for those people
Yeah,
that didn't step forward.
Well, I'm glad we were able to
this is an
hijack you for
excellent
this.
conversation.
I was
though.
glad we were able to
Excellent
hijack you
conversation.
about this because it's extraordinarily
And
complex.
congratulations on what is it, your 1,000?
Yeah.
And Ted Goodman, if you're still with us, congratulations. I think you and the mayor started this with baseball.
And you too, doctor. You were there. Okay.
1,000.
And Stephen, thank you
1,000.
very, very much. You've become invaluable. And we want to thank Rob, too, who's not
Yes,
here
Rob
with us.
Kaufman, if you are
Rob
watching,
and
hello,
Mike.
Rob.
Mike,
May or may need a haircut.
And Mike
Mike Ragusa,
Mike Ragusa and
our little team.
Raleigh
And
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 Raleigh.
Raleigh, and Joe the Box. Okay, there's too
And
many
Joe the
people.
Box, I
There's
know.
too
We're
many
gonna
Joe
go
the
people.
Box, and we have
Joe
so
the
many.
Box.
And all our contributors, thank you. And thank you all for watching us over
And
this
President
stuff.
Trump. Oh my goodness.
And President Trump, of course, has been on here, and we'll get him on again. So now we spend our little time. We said our prayer of thanksgiving with the psalm. We're now going to say a prayer for the people who need it so badly. The people of Kiev last night, 6 of them were killed.
Yeah. Why does he
The
keep going after
animal
Kiev?
Putin is continuing his useless war. You can have all the questions you want about Kiev and about Ukraine. I do, but the slaughterer here is Putin. There's no doubt about it. There shouldn't be any confusion. The president said he was going to get them missiles for them to fight off these attacks on Ukraine. He said he was going to have them produce them with America, and then he said he thought that was impractical. I urge the president to change that and get them the missiles quickly so innocent Ukrainian women, children, older people don't get killed. They're the ones who are getting killed. The Ukrainians are trying hard to limit their damage to military and energy targets with occasional mistakes. Russians do it just the opposite. All you have to look at is the 8-1 losses of Russian troops to see who doesn't give a shit about his people. His name is Putin. Now, we pray for the people of Ukraine to finally be delivered and to have the U.S. and Europe really step up and really end this thing. There's a way to end it. We haven't done it yet. Same thing in Israel. They're not going to agree. They're not going to agree to anything that makes this world safe. They're executing people as we speak. I understand the realities of the election and everything else. I have a different political view. End it in the next week, and you become the hero of the Western world. You can't imagine how public opinion changed with victory. But the limited intellects that are doing the advising don't seem to focus on that. And if it weren't for limited intellects, we wouldn't have had this group around for 47 years, killing so many Americans. As President Trump, as a young man, said, they should have been eliminated year one. Well, that same argument for year 47. So pray for the people of Ukraine and the people of Iran, and of course the people of Israel. They were condemned for going into Syria, and now we find out that Syria had nuclear weapons hidden there. How about we thank Bibi and say, sorry, Bibi, that we criticized you. And by the way, Bibi, thank you for all the work you did so that our job was tough but easier. And thank you for all the Americans you saved, because those other creeps hanging around the Middle East don't save many Americans, right? And by the way, thanks for being the only democracy in the Middle East.
God bless you.
And the only one that loves America and that believes in Western civilization.
Okay.
Finally pray for us.
All the peace-loving people.
All the peace-loving people of the United States. We're under attack now by Islamic extremists and by communists who want to take away our Western civilization. They're getting elected to office. They're making bids for major public office. They're laying out agendas that don't even pretend any longer that they want to destroy our form of government and our rights. They hate our religions. They hate our religion. They hate Western civilization. They hate who we are. They come here and they want to build Sharia law in America. We never had Italians or Germans or Jews or anyone else coming here wanting to build their law in America. They saw the beauty of America. They embraced it and improved it. They hate America and want to destroy it. Don't become silly about it and weak about it. This is what we have to stand up to right now. And that's what these elections are about. And that's how to vote for candidates. So we'll be helping you do that now that we go into our show 1001 on Monday. Okay. Mm-hmm. And thank you very much for your support, Dr. Maria. Despite your modesty, you have been invaluable.
Oh,
Stephen, you have been absolutely enormously helpful so many times.
Thank you, sir.
I wish we could get our man of all seasons on the phone, Ted, but he'll be back here Monday, and we will make sure that you all get to see him. The only good thing is we don't get flooded by all those women who want to marry him if we put him on the show. So.
Very good.
God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. It was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, The reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability